Good morning, Gamecock fans. Today's Friday, September 26th, the year of our Lord 2025. This is Coffee with JC Shurburtt. Thanks for joining me this morning, and appreciate all you out there that are hanging in there and listening. Uh, the Gamecock, oh, no, sorry. Inside the Gamecocks, the preview show today. So, no show or the morning show. It's a 3 hour tour, 10 to 1. Rafael Esparza. Patrick Davis is going to be along to debut a new song, Chef Will Turner. We've got Matt Anderson, the late night Gamecock, rolling through. We've got myself, JB, Flint, Strick. You know the drill. First up on the Chief Sports Network today, though, is at 9 a.m. four-quarter Friday. Steve Hall, Justin Hall. Lots of great high school football action from around the state. I know I'm going to be paying attention to Burns and Dorman while I'm at my stepson's game tonight at Naperville North High School. A lot of lackluster high school football environments here in Chicagoland. It makes me miss home. I mean, for example, the marching bands go home at halftime here. Unbelievable. But anyway, maybe that's a thing now. Maybe I'm just getting old. So anyway, Carolina, Kentucky this weekend, and I apologize for having on a blue shirt today, but I wore a blue shirt last year before the Kentucky game, and it turned out well. But it's my cornbread Cowboys Skinner on full blast blue shirt. So love wearing those t-shirts. So shout out to him. I get a lot of compliments on them. Just in case you're wondering why in the hell I have on blue today when Carolina's playing Kentucky tomorrow. Trust me, it comes up sometimes. This is a must-win situation. We've talked about it all week. It's going to be kind of a shorter episode of Coffee this morning. I'm looking for 20 minutes or so in and out because we've got the preview show coming up and all that good stuff. So you'll obviously hear more from me. The tailgate show tomorrow morning with myself and Mad Dog. Beamer announced last night Nolan Hayes out, Casey Henry's out, so they're missing two offensive linemen. Uh, Great, whatever. That's. I think at this point, you just got to plug and play. And I don't know that. I think Nolan Hay was playing pretty well at center and holding up pretty well. Casey Henry was actually I thought playing individually very well this year, much better than last season. But Tree is probably going to start at right tackle. I believe they'll go with R.J. Newsome at center. I don't know that you need to go back to the Boaz Stanley thing. I mean, the other night Newsome came in at center and Boaz stayed out at right guard. But with ball back, do they go with Boaz? I don't know, man. I think that I think the Boaz at center thing just was not working. Too many costly mistakes, whether that was communication, snap infractions, the bad snap against Vandy that killed a drive. I mean, it just, I don't know. I liked him better at guard last week, but I certainly wouldn't play him over Trevon Ball, if that makes sense. So we'll see what happens there. But my gut is it's Newsome on the left side. I think they'll stick with Thompson and Surratt. I could make a case for putting Tree at left, Jatavius Shivers at right, but that's just my opinion. Don't want to get too far in the weeds there. Also, looks like Matthew Fuller is going to get more of an opportunity at running back. And one thing Hale McGranahan pointed out yesterday, Hale sometimes points out stuff that I don't think about, but getting ball back and more Fuller, you know, the problems with the run game really, I don't know that necessarily they've been personnel related, like as far as talent goes. I do think Matthew Fuller brings a little something extra to the table at running back. So that's a ability kind of thing that I think would work or hopefully would work. Maybe not, you never know. But it's been execution mistakes, scheme, all those things that really have very little to do with the ability of the players individually. So I don't know that new personnel is going to fix the run game if they continue to do what they've been doing, but I don't think they are. Beamer's kind of said it over and over again this week. He said accurately, you know, he, it's one thing to say, oh, we just didn't execute well in a game. We just got to keep going, keeping on. It's quite another when you have a 4 game body of work to just flat out isn't good enough. So I don't know what they're going to do tomorrow night to fix that, but I feel better about their chances if Matt Fuller and is carrying the ball some, and Trevon Ball is at right guard. And I think that'll be your offensive line. It's a shame Nolan Hay gets in there and then gets hurt. It's just like wow, But you can't use that as a reason anymore. There's depth, obviously, on the offensive line, and you had a lot of guys. You got a lot of guys out of the portal, a lot of guys in their third year that were, highly sought after players. And you don't always hit on highly sought after players. That's a fact, and I talk about that all the time. It's kind of an inexact science, but the good thing about getting a lot of highly sought after players, folks, is that you're going to hit on some. you know that's why you recruit like that. And to look here, look at the thing, and in that class, that 2023 class, Ball's been a consistent starter, but that Trey and Marquis Anderson and Shivers, they're not in the. They've been backups. So it's just interesting to me, but they're all still with the program, and that's good, and hopefully they make some moves here directly. But yeah, so we'll see what happens with the run game. Like I said all week, I think they need to speed the game up, throw it. Kentucky has not proven they can consistently defend the pass on defense this year so far. It's only a 3-game sample size. I'm sure they've tweaked some things, gotten some guys a little that were banged up, maybe healthy. But, the key to the game for me is make Kentucky play, make the game an uncomfortable pace. And it's like in basketball when you have a team that wants to slow it down and be methodical, you speed them up. That's not their recipe for success. And that's the team. If you're successful in doing it, you can run them out of the gym. And the same thing's true in football. You want to make them uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable enough coming into Williams-Brice Stadium at night on the road, right? This is not a team in Kentucky that I think's coming in here overly confident, full of pea and vinegar, like coming off a huge win like Vanderbilt was a couple of weeks ago. I don't think they're as good as Vanderbilt either, just from a skill standpoint. But they got a young quarterback they believe in, and he gets going, and they're able to run the ball. It's going to be a long night, And if Carolina can't run it, and you have little margin for error when you can't run it. You can throw. Eventually, you're going to misfire, misconnect on a third down. They get the ball back. They have the ball. So there's a lot to do as far as just executing, getting back to fundamentals. Don't make mistakes, but you can force the uncomfortable pace on offense. Tempo, attack, score. And I'm saying, I don't know about breakneck speed or whatever, but I would kind of force the issue a bit. You got really good athletes. Get the ball in space, make them chase you. You have lots of space in college football. Attack, just keep trying to get downfield, one way or the other, and then score points. Against teams that, unless they're overly, like extremely, like a Georgia when they're trying to run the ball or whatever, that's a different ball game than a team like Kentucky. That's their deal. They're a spider web team. They're the ultimate spider web team through the last 10 years in the SEC. I would argue Vanderbilt's the ultimate spider web team this particular year. Because what they're going to do, they'll muck the game up. You're sitting there thinking you're up by 2 touchdowns, you're up by 3, and then all of a sudden you get tired on defense, and those big backs are dragging you and churning out first downs, and then they get in the fourth quarter and they win the game. That's just kind of how they do it. So you got to force an uncomfortable pace on offense, but also on defense. The way you do that is you got to gang tackle, get them on the ground. Don't let them run off 4 or 5 yards, first and second down. Get Cutter Boley into passing situations. They've got good speed at receiver on the outside, so the corners have to cover. You can't let them get behind you. You have to play the ball. But I believe South Carolina's got an advantage. I'm going to get to advantages here in a second with the D-line and pass rush, just like they did last year. Now, this is a better Kentucky offensive line. Eric Wolford's the coach up there. They were pretty sorry last season for the most part. I don't think that's going to – it's not the big blue wall. You guys remember the big blue wall? But it's better. So you're not going to have just the dominant pass rush, on paper right now. Hopefully they do. Hopefully Carolina does. But you got to kind of force the issue with them and get them into passing downs. That's how you can speed up the tempo on defense. And then scoring on offense also kind of puts them in hurry, not hurry up mode, but passing more, to try to catch back up. So I think a big start's very important for the Gamecocks too. A big start also is going to get the crowd really into it. The crowd's going to be loud. They're going to show up, students, fans, all that. But you get off to a nice start, get an early lead, you know, and I'm not just talking about going down and scoring on the first drive because that's been done. But you get 14, 17 points early. Things are clicking. Fans are going to, the crowd's going to kind of relax and be like, oh, okay, here we go. This is the team we thought we'd see. And I don't care. Somebody's going to out there. Well, it's just Kentucky. Well, it doesn't matter. It was just South Carolina State. It was just Vanderbilt. It was just Missouri. At some point, you got to not worry about who the hell you're playing and go play football at the level you want to play. And again, level of competition is all relative. It's important when you're looking at things like stats and matchups. Just for example, Missouri, South Carolina was by far the toughest team they'd played. And that wasn't a, 62-10 score, was it? Missouri won the game. But I think Missouri was a more confident football team, quite frankly, and didn't beat itself a whole lot, that kind of thing. So I think no matter who you're playing, plus this is an SEC game. It doesn't, if Kentucky were in the ACC, how many games did they win? 7, 8, 6, 7, 8. So it's a quality team, a quality win, and you got to go get ready for LSU. You don't have to play LSU for 2 weeks. So it doesn't matter that Kentucky has been picked 16th. Because I'm going to tell you right now, if Carolina shoots itself in the foot, they're going to lose. It's just there's no breaks in this league. Advantages, disadvantages, like I've said before, when you go, the matchups, who's got the better quarterback, who's got the better running back, you do all that, but then you look at like the matchups like passing game versus pass defense. So I'm going to go through those. This is just one man's opinion, folks. So don't shoot me, put a number on it because it makes it more tasty. Quarterback to quarterback, I put Carolina 80-20. Lenore Sellers has played pretty doggone good. A passing game's coming on. I think he played better against Missouri. Like I said before, you can't expect your quarterback, no matter who it is, to be perfect. And so there's some mistakes and some things to work on, but he's throwing it at a high level. I know the run when he runs looks a little weird, but look, man, there's people there. I don't blame that on him. I blame that on there being people there. And he could try to like go in and take on 3 guys and truck them, but he may fumble. If you do, I mean, I don't know. After going back and looking at it, finding out like what happened. I mean, that's wow. So if the running backs can get going and they can find different ways to run the ball, it's going to help Lenore Sellers run the ball as well. But it's still a big advantage. I like Kentucky's quarterback. I think he's got a promising future. He's going to be good, but he's young and he's never played at an environment like Williams-Brice Stadium. That's for sure. Running back to running back, Carolina's running backs hadn't done much. I mentioned Matthew Fuller. I still think they're a talented group, but I think Kentucky's a very talented group. Grown men in the backfield, 65-35 Wildcats on that one. Tight end, Gamecocks 57-43. I like the tight ends, but I like Kentucky's tight ends too in a different way. They're a lot of blockers, a lot of big guys. Sneaky good catching the ball. Offensive line, there's no other way to put it. Kentucky plus 26 points, 63-37, and I don't even know that that's a super duper Kentucky offensive line. It's just better than last year. Until the offensive line gets fixed, it's a huge liability for this football team. Defensive line, Carolina 59-41. I like some of the guys they got out of the portal and big guy in the middle for Kentucky, but I think Carolina, even with Gabriel Brown-Lamedindi possibly limited, that's a big loss because he takes up a lot of space and he's been doing what he's supposed to do. The stats aren't there, but if you watch him, he's doing what he's supposed to do. He's hustling, running around, all that good stuff. So Carolina plus 18 there. Carolina plus 12 at linebacker. And Fred Johnson, Justin Onkoronko have to have really good games, and everybody in that room needs to tackle well. DBs, Carolina 69-31. It's just because Kentucky's not played well in the secondary. Mark Stoops is a secondary coach by trade, though, so maybe they play a lot better. Special teams overall 56-44 Carolina. Nothing wrong with the Kentucky special teams. I just think Carolina's are better. And wide receiver, Carolina 58-42. But don't dismiss Kentucky's. Kendrick Law came from Alabama, fast guy. They've got fast guys on the outside. They got some speed, so they can hit you with a long one. Just you can't have some of those busts back there. So now the most important uh, part of it, the actual matchups. Kentucky pass versus South Carolina pass defense. Pass defense has been okay. They've had some issues. Like I said, their receivers kind of scary. So Carolina's got the advantage by 10 right there. Um, 55-45 in my opinion. Maybe higher because there's a young quarterback, but I'm going to be conservative on that one. South Carolina pass versus Kentucky pass defense. Gamecocks 80-20. This is all on paper heading into the game, folks. So you said 80-20 and Lenore's threw 5 picks. And yeah, well, that's probably going to have something to do with something other than advantages heading into the game. I hope that doesn't happen. Hope that doesn't happen. Kentucky run versus South Carolina run defense, given the tackling issues. And Vanderbilt ran it pretty good against the Gamecocks. There were some run busts. Linebackers need to continue to grow up every week. I thought they actually played better and were in position against Missouri. Vandy, sometimes they got out of position, but I'm still going Kentucky 72-28 just because that's going to be their advantage in the game is their run against Carolina's run defense. Pretty significant to me. Kentucky pass versus South Carolina pass defense. Oh, yeah. Or I'm sorry. Kentucky run versus South Carolina run defense. Okay, so my bad. South Carolina run versus Kentucky run defense. I'm going to go 57-43 Kentucky on that one because until you can run the ball, you can't. I mentioned special teams 56-44. All right, now O-line, D-line, stuff like that. Kentucky offensive line versus South Carolina defensive line. Slight edge, to South Carolina on this one, 52-48. Just as far as the matchups go, like I said, I think their offensive line's good, better than last year. I'm concerned about the other edge position. And then running it outside, and all that good stuff. But maybe a little too close. South Carolina offensive line versus Kentucky defensive line. Kentucky 59-41. Kentucky running backs versus South Carolina run defense 70-30. Kentucky. South Carolina running backs versus Kentucky run defense. Kentucky 60-40. Kentucky's got in these, you look at it individually, and this is on paper going in. It's there's a lot of Kentucky's, when you can't call it any other way at this point. Carolina receivers versus Kentucky DB 69-31 Carolina. And then Kentucky wide receivers versus South Carolina defensive backs, 58-42 Carolina. So, that's how it kind of lays out on paper right now. I know there's a lot of people down. Um, God, the weather. I haven't checked the forecast for Columbia lately, but I hope it holds off and there's no delays and it's not a sloppy field. And look, on a sloppy field, sometimes they're like, well, it favors the team that can line up and run the ball. Sometimes it does. But like Steve Spurrier used to say, he said, well, the pass works too because they draw off the ball, unless you can't handle the elements if you're a receiver and quarterback. And the ball does slip sometimes, but the receivers know where they're going. The defensive backs don't. So if it's a slick field, there's plays to be made in the passing game too. So don't underestimate that. But just because it's raining and the conditions are not good doesn't necessarily mean South Carolina has to go in there and play Kentucky's game. Still you can still get out there and run and things like that. But I hope the weather holds off. The big reason I hope the weather holds off is because of you guys. that are going to the game. It's another night home game. Those are fun. We only get so many of these a year, and we wait all 9 months, talk it to death. And then it comes and goes. We're already almost to October, unbelievably enough. And this is a must win, so it's a must win against a beatable opponent. So should be a fun night. It's not going to be very fun if you're drenched, though. So just for fan base, I hope that the weather is good because you deserve all the great nights at Williams-Brice Stadium or other stadiums that you can get. A lot of good people, out there. Many of you have gotten to know, and it's been the honor of a lifetime to do that. So just from a personal level, I hope that the rain holds off for you because I know back when I used to go to games all the time, I'd sweat that. And I was talking about the other day with JB, when I was, gosh, I guess it was 2000. I was at Carolina as a student, lived over at place on the green in 5 Points next to Salty Nut. And a monsoon, basically. I mean, it was like literally the parking lot behind the building was like a river of rain was flowing through there into the drain. I remember looking, going, God, this is going to screw tailgating up. We get in the car, pack up the cooler, get the bucket of chicken, head out, paid the $20 to put, it used to be $20 to park at the fairgrounds, and set up shop. And by the time we hit Rosewood Drive, it was bright and sunny and 88 degrees and sweltering. I think it was the Georgia game in 2000, 21-10. Gamecocks won, pulled a big upset. Significant day there in my life in general, but significant win, right? So sometimes, the weather is kind of unpredictable, especially in the early months, but I do remember that. I also remember Kentucky coming in the rain in 1995. Kentucky, when Carolina came to the SEC, Kentucky, they got off to a good start against the Gamecocks. Brad Scott's teams and Sparky Wood's teams, they had a pretty good go of it against those guys. Brad could win in Lexington, but couldn't beat him in Columbia for whatever reason, especially early. But Kentucky came in, ran the option. Mo Williams, I think, still has the record for rushing yards for Kentucky, or 291 yards. I think Bill Curry was the coach there. They were an option team for a while. But Sky Mo Williams, Carolina could not stop him. South Carolina was a better football team that year, had Steve Tannehill record-setting offense, but lost 35-30. It was a day game in the rain against the Wildcats. So, so there's all kinds of, I guess, weather memories with Kentucky. So Carolina's won 3 in a row in the series. Beamer's 3-1 against Stoops, undefeated since the sunglasses comment. So it'd be nice to continue that. I don't think anybody had this game circled as a must win. Like, this is going to be a very huge, important game as far as the overall season goes. But it is, and that's how we are. That's where we are. It is what it is. I'm picking Carolina to win. I had 28-21 earlier this week, but I'm going to go 28-17. Because that's kind of how it goes. There's different scenarios, obviously, with every kind of score you could imagine. But 28-17 sounds about right because, I don't know that in a week you can completely eliminate all the bugaboos and find some magic formula to get it done. I think it's more realistic during an open week to kind of come out and reset. But I do think you can get close, like you can approach that. And it's a process, and that 28-17 score sounds like, okay, the process is moving forward. And then there could be the weather and all that good stuff. So 28-17, so that would be in the under hits, but Carolina covers. And we will be back with Inside the Gamecocks, the preview show, starting at 10. Don't forget to hop on Four Quarter Friday, starting at 9 with Justin Hall, Steve Hall. If you love high school football, also have games tonight. Check the Chief Sportsnet Instagram this afternoon for the complete schedule of streaming games. We've got about 13 teams. South Carolina High School Football Scoreboard Show this evening from Phil Kornblut after Sports Talk. And then tomorrow morning, the Tailgate Show. You'll be singing along with me and Phil, 9:15 a.m. to get you ready for the game. Sunday, Rooster Rant, followed by SEC Sunday night. Then we do it all over again on Monday. It'll be the open date next week, so there'll be some things that'll be different. And talking to Mad Dog yesterday, we may just take Friday off since there's no preview show or anything. But I'll let you know. We'll let you know on all that, folks. It's been a week full of negativity, and that's fine with me because this is about Carolina football, and there's a lot of negative things happening that are frustrating because they shouldn't be. So I get it, but normally we all kind of rally, get our second wind and ready to go for the game. I know I am. It's gonna be a great day of college football in general tomorrow, and so excited about that. But also, I won't be tuning in to Georgia, Alabama all that much. I may check the score on the side because I'll be watching Kentucky and the Gamecocks. So hopefully all of you have a wonderful weekend. Be safe out there. I'll be good to people, all that good stuff. You know the drill. This has been Coffee with JC Shurburtt on a Friday. Talk to you on Monday, folks.
JC and Mad Dog Mully.